Hi, Moonlovers. Welcome to another episode of All Things Moon, Lunar Wisdom for Everyday Life with myself, Kelly Jones, fresh back from Sardinia. So, the last time I spoke to you, we've missed a week. I was just about to head off at the last minute to teach on a retreat at a fabulous place called Ballington Hall in Sudbury, which are owned by wonderful Leslie and Dr. Amar Khan. And they invited me there to teach some yoga, which actually didn't happen. It's a long story. But regardless of that, I had a wonderful weekend there. It was originally supposed to be a retreat for a journalist from the Daily Mail, but that got cancelled about 3 hours before we were due to start. So I ended up having the journalist's facial, which was a beautiful crystal facial with angel Reiki healing. And they are so welcoming there. They have a chef come in who cooks for everybody what they need. So I had all vegan food cooked just for me. And I got to stay in the golden room, which is just fit for a princess. And I even had the orange bathroom, which we laughed about because it kind of matched my new orange hair. Um, and so, yeah, I met a TV personality called Melinda Messenger there, and she was a beautiful Pisces. She was into all things spiritual and meditation, like myself, kind of kindred spirits. And yes, so I ended up doing 2 astrology readings and doing some oracle card readings while I was there instead of teaching yoga. I think that's partially why I have always wondered why it ended up being me that was teaching at their retreats, because they're so far removed from my normal reality. Even though my past, my beginnings in life started out in theatre and TV, and I'm used to being around celebrities and knowing how to deal with that, and I'm very good at going with the flow. And so I was just happy to go with the flow and, be handed a glass of champagne on arrival and meet some lovely people. There was a wonderful lady who's an editor of a magazine there. I did a reading for her. So yeah, beautiful grounds, beautiful weekend. And I got back from there on Sunday lunchtime, and then very early hours, like 2:30 in the morning, we got up to leave to go to Sardinia for 5 days to a sun and bass festival, which is drum and bass music, which really is not my thing, but it is Tom's thing and his friend. So there were 5 of us all together of various different ages, and an interesting combination of people sharing a tiny little villa together. So it has been one big laugh. I've been dancing in the sea, on the beach, in the sun, dancing in a nightclub. I managed to stay up until the sunrise, just with a few glasses of wine and getting high on dancing. So as you might be able to hear from my voice, we've come back with a little post-holiday cold syndrome. We don't have the blues just yet. But yes, I'm fresh, I'm back, I've had a brilliant time, got my frequency higher, and let's get stuck into what's going on with the moon. So on Tuesday, so in the UK, on Tuesday 17th, we have a full moon eclipse. It's also a supermoon, which basically just means that the moon is closer to the Earth. That's why they call it a supermoon. So if you are moon sensitive, if you are a Pisces or any of the mutable signs of that's Virgo, Sagittarius, Gemini, you may experience this full moon stronger, but it's also an eclipse. So this is all occurring in the sign of Pisces. So it's slightly unusual because we are still in the Aries Libra axis for eclipses. So basically the nodes of the moon, so they are just points, they're karmic points. The south node being what we are moving away from, so the familiar, our habits, are things that we can get a bit, we don't like to leave, we get kind of used to being that way. And the north node is where we are headed, it's our soul purpose, our destiny, and that is currently still in on the axis of Libra, which we are leaving behind, all that people pleasing tendency, and we are moving towards Aries, which is much more about the self, the I am, the baby, it's the brand new, it's the pioneer, the one who goes first. So we're still in that energy, but the notes move kind of backwards. If you like, there's no really such thing as backwards, but let's just think of it as going backwards. They move backwards, so shortly come January they'll be moving into the Pisces Virgo axis. So the north node will be moving backwards out of Aries into Pisces. So this full moon eclipse in Pisces is going to give us a preview of what is to come. So anything that occurs for you around this time, take note of. This is where we are getting our culminations, endings, that final point where it's time to let go and release and surrender. So I have got my notes in front of me, so sorry if you see me keep looking at my notes, but I am just fresh back off of holiday, so I've had to jot some stuff down. Didn't trust myself to be just completely off the cuff. So I'm going to read this to you. So the full moon in Pisces is going to be stuck. So where the moon is, it's in the sign of Pisces, and it's going to be stuck right in the middle between Saturn and Neptune. Because remember, those planets are still currently kind of retrograding in Pisces. So in other words, we are stuck between reality, Saturn, here's the reality check, and Neptune is the dreamy, illusionary, foggy, can be disillusion, all of that you're not quite clear on. So we're stuck between clarity and unclarity, if you like, if there is such a word. So the moon being in Pisces, a full moon is always opposite the sun. It's an opposition. So the moon is opposite the sun, which is currently still in Virgo. So if we think of Virgo as being order, organized and order, then we can think of Pisces as being a little bit chaotic. It doesn't have boundaries, finds boundaries really, really hard. It's very fluid and all over the place. So somewhere between order and chaos. So we've got a lot of opposition stuff, kind of, what's the word that I want? Stuff that contradicts itself at the moment. What else have I got here? So the moon is actually moving from Saturn towards Neptune, which is good. So I think it might be a good idea. I'm going to do this because I've actually got the North Node in Pisces in my birth chart. So this is going to be a return to that for me. So whatever that means for me in my birth chart is going to come up. So it's a really good time to journal out all that Saturn stuff that brings up the past. It kind of brings up all the bad times and things that we want to forget about, but it's hard to. So just journal it out, just like keep going, like automatic writing, just scribble whatever comes out and really let that bad stuff out onto the paper, burn it if you need to, and allow yourself that space then to connect with your higher self, which is where Neptune wants us to be. you could do that through meditation. That's the simplest way, is just to sit and be and breathe and calm and just allow yourself to float a little bit in the Pisces energy. But also the Pisces is creativity. So you could maybe take notice of your dreams, get a dream journal. I have been dreaming so much, partially because I've been away sleeping in on a sofa bed in the living room with other people getting up and down to go to the toilet in the night. And, one of the girls that was with us, she was a bit of a crazy party girl. So she was up all night and kind of, my sleep was disturbed. So I was in and out of the dream time, crazy dreams. So maybe write those down because they always have messages for us. But maybe come to it through dance. I've been dancing and dancing. Oh, my little calf muscles and Achilles are quite sore from jumping up and down in my bare feet on the sand, because the party was on during the day on the beach, and I was really loving dancing in the sea. As you can imagine, being a Cancerian, coming up to this full moon in Pisces, what better thing to do to get lost on the high of dancing? But art or anything creative where you lose yourself, you come into that right brain area where you're switching off all that logic stuff that spoils everything, the party pooper side of the brain. So coming away from party pooping Saturn and into, happy, dreamy, all over the place Neptune. So I feel like this trip that I've just had is perfect example of this energy that we're coming into. And, when you come into your higher self, into that state, it's where we feel safe. And interestingly, the Pisces can also be, and Neptune can be very relative to psychedelic type experiences. And in my younger years, I had some experiences of that which were not good for me. I'm too sensitive to deal with that. It's just not for me. Some people actually find healing and they find themselves and they need to do that as part of their journey. But for me, it was just a frightening experience, and being around people that were doing psychedelic things this past week did bring up some of those old fears. Also, we on the last day, the weather wasn't so good. It was a bit stormy. So we drove up into the mountains and we were walking towards a castle that didn't exist, I don't think. But we were walking on this path, and I really do have a massive fear of edges that you can fall off of up high. And I've done all kinds of things. I've trained as a hypnotherapist. I trained as an NLP practitioner. I trained as an EFT practitioner. I've done a method called DTO. I've done all kinds of things to help alleviate that fear that I have that makes me get vertigo and feel like I'm going to fall over. But I've yet to find what it is that causes that. So that came up as well. And that is an out of control feeling. And so I think maybe things like psychedelics is something that you, unless you're very experienced at it and you're in a controlled situation, it's not something that you have complete control over. So that is something that maybe this North Node coming into my Pisces area might be showing me something. Who knows? I'm going to sit and journal around it and sit and meditate on it. It's also showing up in the fourth house area for me because my rising sign is Sagittarius. So that means that this Pisces moon is in the fourth house area, which is the area of family, home, boundaries. What else? It's also the feeling of where you belong. And I've definitely noticed recently that that has become a thing again for me. I'm shifting from where I was feeling that I belonged to into a space of I'm not sure where I belong at the moment. And that is very much this sort of confusing, not quite clear feeling that this moon is bringing up. And yesterday I met a new person. We'd arranged a meeting about an event that's happening in a year or so's time, and that I'm going to be involved in. And, I'll tell you more about that another time. But when I met this person, we were so alike in our stories and our journeys. And I was with her for like nearly, I think it was 4 or 5 hours. We were talking and talking because I think we were very excited to have met somebody that we could have that type of conversation with, to feel safe enough to tell each other's stories and, recognize each other in our stories, and a real feeling of safety with each other, and with a brand new person, that has been around on the periphery, and we finally met up. So, that sense and feeling of belonging, emotional foundations, feeling secure in your emotional sense of the word, and building those foundations and having boundaries, or releasing boundaries and allowing yourself to surrender, would be another thing. So if this is showing up for you in your 4th house, that's what you would be looking at. But if you don't know about finding out about your rising sign, please do send me a message. I can do a free chart for you to have a look what your rising sign is. Then we can see which house area that this moon is going to be showing up for you. I go a lot more in depth into all of this on my moon ceremony, and the moon ceremony will be held online on Tuesday evening. So you would need to go to my website, which is kellyjones.me, and that's Kelly with an I-E, KELLIJONES.me, and go to the events page there. I will put a link to it underneath the podcast, but because this comes out on different platforms, it will be on the YouTube link, it will be on the Spotify link, and also you have my website there anyway. And if you are on YouTube, if I can remind you to subscribe and press the like button, because it helps whoever needs this to hear it, to get this out to more people, to spread the word. And so let's go back to some more details about this moon for you. So, lunar eclipses. So they occur when the sun and the moon oppose each other, and they are close to the moon's nodes, which the nodes are known as the points of destiny, karma, and fated changes. So when the nodes are activated by the eclipses, doors can close and doors can open in surprising ways. People can suddenly leave our lives or come into our lives, like yesterday. What no longer aligns with our purpose might abruptly come to an end, and new opportunities might appear, seemingly out of nowhere. And so that's why I tell you my little stories of things. This is an opportunity. I've met a new person that I feel aligned with, and who knows what that connection may bring for both of us. This eclipse is a partial eclipse, so it's not a total eclipse. So it's not going to be quite so powerful and intense as a total eclipse would be. And we know it's not that long ago that we had total eclipse, so think back to there. But it is an unusual eclipse, as I said, because it's occurring in Pisces, even though we're still, the nodes are still in the Aries and Libra axis. and it's giving us that preview. A full moon usually brings things to light for us because it's illuminating, but because it's partially covered up in the mystical Pisces water, it might not be so clear. So you might feel a little confused at the moment. Pisces is the 12th sign, so that thing, all things hidden. It's the end of the zodiac where we return to spirit. If you think of Aries as being the newborn and Pisces as being the wisdom, we've been through that whole zodiac cycle with all the lessons, with everything that we've needed to learn, and we're back to return to spirit. So if you think of that, it's kind of a sense of dissolving into oneness. When an eclipse occurs here, it really is completion, it's closure, it's truth, it's surrendering. So all of those things are exponentially increased. We're going to feel that a lot more. We're going to see that a lot more, experience that more, depending on your birth chart. So that's why it's good to know. The best way to get through whatever it brings is to let go of resistance. So if you think of, where I've just been in the sea, and one of the beaches that we went to, it felt really buoyant, like as if there was more salt in that sea. And just allowing that to support and hold you, and allowing yourself to float and let go of that resistance, and to trust in the unknown that is yet to come. But as I said, the moon is in between Saturn and Neptune. So Saturn is the reality check planet. So it also means getting real and letting go of the security blanket. And also, just before I went away, we had the launch of Gather Chelmsford, and we had a nice amount of people for our first event, which was an offline event. So we had this beautiful box made by a lady who's got a company called Happy Yellow Door. Give her a shout out. It's on Etsy, and she makes these beautiful handmade boxes, and she put on it our colours and our logo, and to put your phones away and enjoy the day. And so we put people's phones away as they arrived. We gave them an old-fashioned raffle ticket so they could reclaim their phone after the 2.5 hours. And we all spent time offline. And the idea was really to read, journal, do art, whatever you wanted to do. But it seemed that most people wanted to have conversation. They wanted real-time conversation and connection. And some of us did sit and do a little bit of art journaling. But the reason I mentioned that is letting go of your security blanket. And I actually jokingly call our mobile phones blankie. When you find yourself, in a pub somewhere and your friend goes to the bar, the first thing you do is pick up your phone. And it's a bit like sticking your thumb in your mouth and, feeling secure. And I'm not meaning to take the Mickey out of anybody. That I'm talking about myself here as well. So it's a time to stop kidding ourselves, release our illusions, and get real about some things like, are you spending too much time in the illusionary world on your phone? And is it time to notice what's going on around you? Is it time to stop getting pulled into the illusion of TV land, and to notice what is actually real and going on around you, instead of being pulled into somewhere else all the time without really knowing what's true? Getting into this more Neptunian Piscean energy of intuition, of trusting our psychic intuition that lets us know what's real and what's not real if we get in touch with it. This is asking us to do that. The full moon is conjunct Neptune and opposing Virgo, the sun in Virgo, and that's highlighting the blessings and the challenges of navigating increased sensitivity and awareness of what is happening to others around us. Neptune erases the boundaries between us and the world. It opens the doors of perception. It thins the veil between the personal and the collective world, the conscious and the unconscious. So it will be easier to access our psychic intuition, our deeper levels of knowing. But it can feel a little confusing and overwhelming. So that's the time to, get grounded, get real, put your feet on the earth, feel something that's real. Center yourself, get on your yoga mat, get into your own center. Breathe, allow yourself to discern from what is and what isn't, what's true, what's not true. This eclipse may also bring disillusioning experiences for some of us, but all that is doing is trying to redirect us onto the right path for us. And one way of knowing and getting reassurance that you're on the right path is to get your birth chart done. And because I'm relatively new to reading charts, I'm only in year 2 at the moment on my course. So, the more advanced stuff is looking what's coming in the future. But what I'm finding that I'm actually really good at is giving you reassurance that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. Instead of beating yourself up, you can forgive yourself. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, please do contact me and we can see what we can do for you. So I decided today to pick up some really old cards that I'd forgotten. They came to my mind. They're really old cards. I think they're some of my first ever cards that I got. The Mermaid and Dolphin cards. They're Doreen Virtue. I mean, who knows what happened to her in the end. I think she turned religious and went away from all the angels and the mermaids. But I'm going to pull a card from this deck and see what comes up for us. Whoop, straight away. How quick was that? So what have we got? The card of Alchemy. You have the Midas touch right now, and every project you begin turns to gold. Wow, that's an amazing message. So I shall just see if I can find this card in the book. And I'm just going to pop my glasses on. So you're on a roll at this time with the energy of heightened success surrounding you and your endeavours. You instantly manifest your thoughts and ideas now, so choose them carefully. And that has been something that's come up for us at home. Funny story. So Tom, he kept going on about, not wanting to work so hard and to take more time off. But today we just had the conversation about choosing his thoughts more carefully, because just the day before we went to Sardinia, he was driving along the motorway and, the best part of his engine fell out onto the motorway. Very dangerous. Everybody was safe. There was nobody was hurt. But his van has just been his work van with all his gardening equipment in, had to be towed home. And yesterday someone came to pick it up so it can be fixed. So we now have some extra time off from gardening this week whilst he's getting a new engine put in. So there we go. That's the message. Be careful what you think. Choose your thoughts wisely. Choose what you say out loud wisely as well. And just as you're capable of manifesting masterpieces right now, you're also able to manifest problems. So, but the good news is that you can also undo any manifestation that you're unhappy about. An alchemist is someone who turns base metal into precious gold or silver. I think of an alchemist in alchemy as someone who takes something and turns it into something better. And I think that is the message of that card for everybody. You know, we have the opportunity on this full moon eclipse to take something and turn it into something better, because we've come to the end of this zodiac cycle before it begins again. So I wish you full moon eclipse blessings. I really hope that I hear from you and that we connect and that this has helped you in some way. And if you want to know more, please do join us on Tuesday evening online. That is 8 till 9:30 p.m. UK time. So I will see you all next week.